Ciao tutti. Today is November 14th, and we're doing another live lesson. So in the previous lessons, we've looked at some of the vocabulary you could use for friends and family and presenting them and talking about like where they're from and what they like to do. And so today we're going to get a little bit more into some verb conjugations. And so we're going to have take a look at this table here for the live lessons. Okay, so, and ciao Nate, ciao Vadim. So we're going to look at these conjugations for these three basic groups of verbs in Italian. So we have, for example, here parlare, which is considered part of the first group that ends with an A, R-E ending. We have an example here, correre, which ends with an E-R-E ending, and capire, which ends with an I-R-E ending. So that means to understand. So what I do here is I take the ending, the are, that ending, I take that off, and I have for the for here, I have these six cells here, which since Italian as a Latin Romance language is an Indo-European language, so it has these six forms that we're looking at. We have io, tu, lui, lei, lei. With this capital L, it's the kind of a formal pronoun that we use to talk to people older than us or people in authority to show a sign of respect. And then noi, voi in these plural forms here, and then loro, and again, this loro with the capital L will be kind of to show a sign of respect to a group of two people you want to be respectful for. Otherwise, for tu and voi, this tu would be informal, like to a friend, and voi would be to like a group of friends, somebody your age. So Italian, a little different from, let's say, Russian, which I just looked at with Fatim. We separate this plural and formal sense here. So this is typical, I would say, of some of these well, not typical, since some of the Romance languages are a little different from one to another. Here, like voi, like if you compare this to French, vous, that would be the formal, whereas here, lei and loro, those are the formal. And if you compare this to Spanish, like in Mexico, lei and loro would be similar to like usted or ustedes in Spanish. And in Spanish, this like vosotros or voi would be similar to compare that. Okay, so we're going to take off these endings for parlare, and we're going to take this off and we get parlo, parli, parla, parliamo, parlate, parlano. Similar to, let's say, Spanish or Russian, we have different endings here, the O, E. Yes, I think you're right here. Parlano. Sorry for the accent there. And so we have these different endings, the O, then E and A, and then the amo, ate, and ano. So we don't have to necessarily include the subject pronoun with the with the verbs. It's understandable from the ending itself. That information gives us enough detail to know that we're looking at the first person. If I hear the O ending, if I hear the E ending, I know we're talking about the second person singular. If I hear this A ending, I know we're talking about the third person singular. And if I hear this mo and this te, I can recognize these endings as well. In terms of like the syntax or making the negative, making a question. So we add non, like non, for the negative. So parlo italiano, I speak Italian, or non parlo italiano. So this non goes in front of the verb. And if I want to make a question, parli italiano, I just kind of have to raise my voice and add this question mark, as you can see here. And so you'll notice in this second group with the ERE ending, we have something similar. We have the O, I, but this time we have the E ending here, corre, for lui, lei, and for the noi ending, again, we have this AMO ending, and we have this ETE ending. So those would be one of these differences to look at for this ETE ending and this E ending for the lui, lei. So that's based on the infinitive that has the ERE ending. Then for the third person plural, we have an ONO ending here. So in the AR verse group, we have ANO, and for here, we have ONO. So those are a few of these little tiny differences that would make a difference between the first group and second group. Now, if we look at the third group, this capire, there are a couple verbs that will enter this kind of SC in between the suffix and the root. So this root of capire, so the third group ends with IRE. So this root would be cap, and it's inserting this like ISC before I add the O. So I get capisco, and then capisce, capisci, and then capisce, then capiamo. So here in the noi and voi, we don't insert that ending, that ISC, and for that, so capiamo and capite, and then capiscono for this on there. Okay, and another example that I see from this website, the Italian Online Italian Club, there are, for this third group, you might have dormire, to sleep, or preferire, to prefer. Here you can see this one more time, this SC ending that is inserted for preferisco, preferisci, preferisce, but not in the noi and voi forms. So it's in this, the io form, the tu, the lui, lei, and loro have that inserted. And if you look at dormire, to sleep, we don't have that ISC inserted between the root and the suffix. We just have this kind of, we have dormo, dormi, dorme, dormiamo, and here we have the letter I, dormite, and an O ending for here. So it's almost like this third group. It's very similar to the second group. It has those features of the O, I, and E. Again, we have the iamo. We have an ITE that is there. And then we have the O, which is also similar to the second. If I take a look at another group here, for the second group, perdere, to lose. So we have those little details here. So, so basically, if you're looking at this voi form, that's where you will see the ending similar to the infinitive. Like it's either ETE, ITE, ATE, and this parla or corre or capisce. So the second and third group, these end with E. The first group that has the infinitive with are ends with a. But if you look at the noi form, these all end with like IAMO, 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 so that doesn't change. And you can notice that these all end with the O for the first person, singular. Parlo, corro, capisco. It's just some of these third groups, they will add this ISC inserted in there before you get to the O on there. So those are these basic examples that you could have for the present tense. If I look at the Wiktionary, this table, you'll see that, let's say, compared to Russian, which we've discussed before with Vadim, Italian as a Romance language, it has a lot more of these tenses. We have the present indicative, which we're looking at right now, this parlo, parli, parla, parliamo, parlate, parlano. We have an imperfect, which means like I was doing something, I was speaking. There is this past historic, and we have a future tense. We have a conditional, like if, and we have a subjunctive, which is usually when you want to say like, I want you to do something, or I would like you to do something. So like, I want that you speak, like literally, but like I want you to speak. You would have these subjunctive forms in the present and in the imperfect for this past. We also have these imperatives, like telling somebody speak or don't speak. So we have those forms as well. So Italian has these forms in there. And what else would you have on here? But yeah, you do need to kind of start memorizing these little by little and practicing these endings. But these would be for these regular verbs. And here are these other examples for the second group, like correre. You can see those as well on the Wiktionary, and you can compare these also with like a third group, capire. You can see these SC inserted in between the root and the ending. Okay. Let me go back here. So how, let me just compare a little bit with you, Vadim. How have you been practicing learning Italian verb conjugations, and what are some techniques that have worked for you?
I'm just in beginning. For now, I'm only more or less okay with the first form, present simple, and regular verbs. It's quite easy to remember, but they also have some irregular, which you need to. I'm using Anki and Memrise for this to remember.
And on Memrise, is there a list of verbs and conjugations on Memrise?
No, Memrise. On Memrise, I use just ready courses. Just download ready courses for basic Italian, and Anki. In Anki, I create my own lists. Yes, I create lists of conjugations of different verbs and just repeat it every day. It helps, but I don't know any other forms you just showed. For now I'm practicing only simplest first form.
And do you practice recording yourself or writing simple sentences, let's say like on italki? Do you practice that at all?
Not yet, but I'm planning to begin it. Now I'm taking some online course on basic Italian, and there they have some exercises when you need to write comments about yourself or about friends, So I did this, and other pupils can comment on your comment. And yes, I tried this, but yes, I'm going to do it more and use maybe a Talkie or some other service to practice writing and speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say a little bit each day helps, kind of reviewing this and practicing it, and definitely using that with native speakers or with fellow students to kind of compare and contrast, see some mistakes. And one thing I do like about the Italki notebook entries is, like, even if you don't necessarily write your own, you can look at other people's texts and look at the corrections that they receive on there. I think it's a useful tool for kind of a community-based learning. And yeah, I would say looking at these Italian verbs, they remind me a little bit with some of the Spanish ones that I have a lot more experience with speaking Spanish, and I'd say these patterns are somewhat similar to what I've seen with Spanish. So I'll be putting a Spanish lesson coming up right after this one to show some of those differences between Italian and Spanish for those kind of three groups, which there are also three groups in there. And the French also has three groups. And so we can see those differences.
For me, one trick, I'm not sure it will be working for other words, but for now it's working for me. I remember form for voi.
Mm-hmm.
You can just take infinitive and replace R with T.
Yeah.
Parlare, parlate. Carere, carete.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very good observation. You replace the R with the T, and you get the voi form. Mm-hmm.
I don't need to remember one form. It's already big help for me.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, I suppose, like, if you can get that voi form, you can also get the noi form, because it's just the IAMO. It doesn't change according to the infinitive. So if you can just get the suffix, then you can just replace that. But yeah, it goes through practice. For the moment, I don't yet have a Italian verb conjugator. I guess I would like to make one to go through, like what I've done for some of the other languages, like Russian, or what I've done for English for some English learning students. But I think for the Italian, I if I had time, I would love to kind of put something together, kind of like what you've said about working with Memrise or Italki or sorry, Anki on there. But, okay. But yeah, once you get to the irregular verbs, then yeah, you do need to memorize a couple different forms. Are there any typical patterns that you've seen so far for irregulars? Like, where is it usually irregular? Is it just the I-O form?
No, I maybe don't know a lot of regular verbs, but I think it's very unlikely they have some pattern, because they are irregular. It means they don't have patterns.
Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah, but if you just noticed anything from your studies as well. Okay. Well, if anybody has questions or comments, like these videos, please leave a comment or a message, and I will relay these questions to native speakers to help kind of clarify some doubts on here. And so we'll continue with these exercises and this information for the next time. And I hope you find this useful for your beginning level studies, and I hope that you have an opportunity to find a language exchange partner or a native speaker or a teacher who you can work with to practice speaking and practice writing and getting feedback on that. Okay, well, so thank you very much, Vadim, for joining me today for both the Russian and the Italian today, and I look forward to seeing more of your messages or recordings to kind of
Yes,
mutually
I'll try.
study and practice. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, so grazie and ciao.
Grazie. Arrivederci. Ciao.
Arrivederci. Ciao.